This is The Close-Up. Conversations about creativity made possible by Barco. From our studios in Los Angeles, here is Jim Chabin.
Victoria Alonso is with us. She serves as executive producer and head of physical production for Marvel. The studio's latest hit, Dr.Strange, has now grossed more than $700 million. Welcome back, Victoria.
Thank you for having me.
Here are the top 10 biggest movies of all time. You expect Avatar, Titanic, Star Wars, Jurassic World. Marvel's The Avengers, 2012. Furious 7, Avengers, Age of Ultron, 2015. Harry Potter, Frozen, and Iron Man 3. Three movies, the top 10, come from your team. Yeah. And I added up, it's $4.2 billion between those three movies.
Yeah.
It took 100 years to put that list together of top box office hits, and your team has created 3 of the top 10 in a matter of a few years. And number 12 is Captain America. So if we go down the list, there are more Marvels, but I'll stop at 10. When you're trying to develop an action plan and start the process of bringing one of these to the screen, how many people are in that first few conversations? How big is that team? Who all is brought in for that?
The team is, we're pretty lean as a company. I mean, I think it's a very small group of people. I mean, there's always 4 to 8 maybe, but by and large it's 3 or 4 people. And then eventually we hire a director to join. Sometimes when the director is hired, there's already a production designer or a visual effects supervisor, because a lot of stuff had to be figured out before that person came along. But mostly we wait for the director, and then we hired the rest of the team. Some writers may be hired before the director, because we like to present a script or a form of a script. I always say don't get attached to the written word yet, because the written word is true once the movie gets sent out to the world. Directed by Scott Derrickson, written by Steve Ditko. You said about Dr. Strange, this may be the most technically complicated movie ever done. Places you've never been and difficult to shoot technically. This was a challenge, huh? Yeah. Yeah, this was a big challenge because we wanted to do something that was different in magic than what had been done before so well by Harry Potter and all those movies. So when you take something like, how do you include magic in the MCU with our touch and our funny and not become cheesy? That's a tall order. So technically we had to find the place where it still had to have all the different elements that create what we call it, our recipe for success. It had to be there. And instead of blowing up a city, we wanted to build it back up from the rubble. So that created, and it's a very long sequence that we do at the end in Hong Kong. So it turned into an incredibly difficult technical dance. But we did it. Dr. Strange is played by Benedict Cumberbatch. There is a moment in the first part of this film when he meets Benedict Cumberbatch's character, Dr. Strange, meets the Ancient One. And she allows him to open up the world that he never knew existed. And I saw this film in 3D. And his movement through time and space is one of the most exhilarating 2 or 3 minutes that was on the screen this year in any film.
Why are you doing this to me?
To show you just how much you don't know. Open your eyes.
What we did is, I mean, that's a magic mystery tour. That scene altogether was almost 7 minutes before the movie came out. And right now in the movie, I think it's 2 minutes to, I think maybe 2:15. It had to be photographic. It had to tell you a few different details about this story that was necessary for you to understand. And it had to take him, an incredibly arrogant man to his knees to beg for help. It is his low point. You think before, the accident is the low point. No, this is the moment where we strip him down of all the cockiness and he realizes there's something bigger than himself.
He drops to the floor at the end of the scene and says, teach me what you know, and she says, no.
Yep.
And there was an immediate laughter in the theater, and I thought, my gosh, you're giving us this insight, you're giving us this ride. He's saying, okay, I'll take some of that, and she says, no, not so fast, pal.
Well, you'll take it when I'm ready.
Right.
Because I'm teaching you. So it's not when you're ready to hear the lesson, but when I think you're ready to take the lesson in. And I think that, again, these are all the different themes that are in the movie that you can see it just as a story point. Teach me, no. Why? Because you need more learning. Or you can go one level and one layer down into the depth of it is not everything that we need to learn is when we say we are ready for. So that's more of the spiritual journey. If you want to look there, if you're 8 years old and you're not ready to look there, that's okay too.
I saw this movie with a friend who goes to movies from time to time with me, and would not, ordinarily she would not go out to a superhero movie. And I would imagine it was about 25 minutes into the movie, she leaned over in the dark and said, "This is a great movie."
Aww.
And I've heard that repeated by others who said, there's something about this film that's different from a lot of what's come before from any studio. This is a serious exploration of the human condition, and holding out the idea of personal and spiritual growth. He travels to the Near East to try to find something that will restore him. Is that a leap for your team, or do you just say, yeah, let's bring it on?
Well, I mean, in the comics, it's pretty much, that's pretty faithful to the comics that he takes this journey on. I think for us, we wanted to explore, so many people had lost their jobs due to financial things that happened in this country way back when, and it was like a lot of people had to reinvent themselves. So I think we were tapping into, who are you? Are you your job? Are you your title? Are you your career? Or are you you? And are you being the best you that you can be? So many people just follow what society tells them to do, the parents tell them to do, the schooling tells them to do, but so many people don't follow their heart in what they should do. And even though I do truly believe that Dr. Strange wanted to be the best doctor ever, the reasons why he wanted to be that was because it fed his ego. And once you strip the ego to its knees, what is there? And I think for us it was really, really important to perhaps tap a little bit. I think we're in that time in our journey together as a team. We've been together 12, I've been there 12 years. So the question perhaps could have been too, are we us? Are we a name? Who are we as people? Are we our jobs? What if we don't do this job anymore?
So the growth of all of you, your core creative team, that the movies have grown and gotten more nuanced and interesting and thoughtful and experimental or experiential as you all have developed as people.
Well, you sure hope that that's the way, right? That as we grow and we learn and we know more about who we are, that we can sprinkle a little bit of that in our storytelling. I don't think it necessarily says the story of that Dr. Strange equals this other name at Marvel. I don't think that that's the case. I think that we have all experienced a little bit of, if I don't do that, then what am I? And I think that so many people have experienced, I don't know what I am, I'm in my journey. And I think that's what strikes a chord as well. I think there's people that know what they want to do and they just gun for it. And there's people that don't know, and it's okay not to know. And we shouldn't judge them because of it and let them go on their journey. And maybe along the way you find something else that feeds you and then you realize what your true purpose is. But really it's about, the Ancient One says to him in the balcony, it's not about you. It's not about you. So it's about the true purpose of you. But if you make it about you, then you make it about the ego. If you make it about the true purpose, then you will find what that is.
Well, I found it too. Coming out of the film, it was, this is a movie that contained, or that brought out empathy and compassion. And so when someone says, what have you seen that you liked? Quite a few people have said, I really like Dr. Strange. And it's as if I was talking to the president of Discovery Channel, and I said, what was your favorite movie this year? He said, I took my son to see Dr. Strange. I love that movie. So these are people who I think they are people who otherwise would expect a certain deliverable when they go to see a certain kind of movie, and came away absolutely delighted with what.
Well, I think that's the true success, right? I mean, to make our fans happy is difficult because they're quite critical and they demand a lot, and we respect that and we welcome it. But if we can make them happy, and on top of it, find new fans, people that never thought they would like our movies because they don't like these kind of movies, then you know that you're crossing over on something that is quite universal. And for us, what's important is that if we keep the universality of it, then we know that we are speaking about something that it's about the human race. And for us, that's important, because you can become very small as a superhero company and just be a niche and just be talking only about those powers that only certain people know because there was a code that was written in this comic book. It's like you can be so specific and so small, and then all of a sudden you open it up to human issues with a superhero theme, and I think you have a different approach.
If the process is underway, is there a moment where you feel this is going to be really good, or I'm starting to really like what I'm seeing here? Or are there moments where you say, this is not working? What is the process of knowing green light or red light? We're on the right track here, or I want to slow things down until we...
I think for us, it's somehow is pretty clear, and I'm not sure that I could define it in words. I think that when we're in the room and we do a friends and family or we do a screening and we look at it, we all go, we're in trouble. And usually the audience response is, we're in trouble. And when we have a good feeling and it rolls and it plays, and although we know that we have hurdles, right, that we need to jump over, we know we're on the right path. It's a feeling. You know, it's almost like when you play tennis and you just hit that ball and you hear that sound. You know, I mean, that's the perfect moment where you go, that was a good hit. I don't think you know it before you hit it, but it's in that hitting moment that you hear that pop. And I think that's what happens with the audience. Now, we know going in to some of our screenings that we have a lot of work to do, and I think audiences are super smart to tell us, yeah, you have a lot of work to do, or they say, and sometimes they bring things up that we don't even think about, and it sort of opens our eyes, and we consider it.
So we honored you last year with the Harold Lloyd Award. That's an award that has been given to James Cameron, Martin Scorsese, Ang Lee, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and you. And you said in your acceptance speech, I accept on behalf of your daughters. Let them in your offices and at your tables. Yeah. The balance they create will improve storytelling. You don't know that because you haven't let them in.
Yeah, listen, I continue to say that I would receive any award I am given on behalf of everybody's daughters. So today, I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that there is a big gap in our gender parity, and it takes for all of us to think about, if you're hiring someone. I was told the other day, well, I hire the best people. And my answer to that is, how do you know that you hire the best people if you don't interview half of them be women and half men? You only interview these people because you think they're the best, but you don't even look at the fact that maybe there's women that are qualified to do that. And there's this blank glare look on the other side. I'm like, I'm just saying, just do the Rooney Rule and allow for some women to apply for the job.
What's the Rooney?
The Rooney Rule was done in football when there were an exceeding amount of white people being the coaches in teams that were mainly African American teams. So the Rooney Rule was like that at least you had to, and I hope I'm not butchering the rule, but at least you have to interview some African American potential coaches. And that changed the percentages of who coached from that moment on. Because all of a sudden, people had not even looked at the possibility that there were other people that were able to be a coach.
What is it about your work that you love so much?
I love people, and I love process. And if you are so happy about that, and you're so blessed to have the capability of making dreams come true, however that is, it's a complete plus that it's a film that people love. And now, lucky enough, we've had 14 number ones, one after the other over the years. So that's unprecedented, unheard of. I get all of that, and I try not to think about it because it's a little overwhelming and it doesn't feel real. But it's the people. So for me, that's it. I mean, I'm just passionate. I mean, I get up in the morning and I have to fight traffic for a long time. But I forget about it because I'm on the phone with great people.
Many people are talking about virtual reality and this next frontier of the way people may be able to explore the world and have an experience. If someone came to you and said, don't worry about the budget, can you take your creative mind and get it around creating something that would thrill audiences, would you do it?
Yes.
Why?
Because I think to open up our minds to new ways of creating and feeling and experiencing is key to growing. So of course, for the same reason that I'm keen on FaceTime and not just regular telephoning people, for the same thing that I use texting and email as a form of communication and not just handwriting a letter or a card for a thank you. I mean, like, because technology is a path for many things. And one of the things that it can do is it can open up creatively places that we haven't been. So for me not to do that is crazy. I just went to see Avatar Taruk, the first flight, that is the Cirque du Soleil version of it. The amazing work that those people do with choreography and light is a display of madness, and it's creative madness in a good way. So nobody had ever thought about that until Cirque du Soleil came around and go, oh, you're gonna have a circus with gymnasts?
Right.
More than one act?
Right.
Yeah, and music, and lights.
And costumes.
And some of them will just dive into a pool.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I mean, the idea of closing your mind to doing art one way, I just think that it's just a very rigid way of looking at art.
It's always a joy to talk to you. It's so much fun. We learn so much, and thank you so much for spending the time to bring others along. And on behalf of all the young daughters in the country, thank you for being a beacon for them. And
well, here's one thing for those young daughters. I will not stop until change is there. And I may be very old, and that's okay.
come back and bring that message again.
I'll do that.
Okay,
Thanks,
thanks, Victoria.
Thank you so much.
The Close-Up is produced by the Advanced Imaging and VR Societies in Hollywood and is powered by Barcode.